You know what you did, and this is your penance.
That is it, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That was good stuff, lads. So Harry, take us away through your.
Is it my turn now?
It's your turn, mate. Yeah.
Take us away, Aaron. Right. Okay. So I said to the guys that I hadn't come up with like really big ones. They're just kind of little nitpicks that I had. The fourth one, and I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of this on occasion, and I think Liam is probably guilty of it quite a lot. But I hate, as the term is, grammar Nazis.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, you hate
so
grammar Nazis, or
so like I don't have an issue with them as such if they're trying to help, or like it's when like a lot of my friends are like severe grammar Nazis where like they kick off if someone like gets the wrong there, they, or they are.
Not gonna lie, that really annoys me. I love you guys so much, but I would get annoyed by that. And there's something like about my English teacher thing that would like, oh my god, that's so stressful to look at.
Yeah, and I understand that. The point where it becomes annoying to me is like, you know, when people are having an argument, right? And someone has clearly been defeated in their argument and they've been made to look a fool, and then someone just comes up with the YOU.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
And I'm just like, fuck you for a start. Like, what kind of person are you? Like, you've clearly lost this argument, and that's what you like result to. And the thing is, like, you can't argue against it because it's right. Like, you're trying to act smart and you're trying to act clever, and then like you've literally made like a grammatical error, and it's like, well, fuck you. It's like the lowest hanging fruit. It's like someone like responding with, I know you are, but what am I? It's it's not an effective argument, but it is at the same time, because if you keep doing it, no one's going to win. And it's just something that really annoys me. I get you. I'm probably annoying people because like I know Juice, like we mentioned him already, but he's a self-professed grammar Nazi. And one of his tweets recently, he got something wrong. And I said, where's your tweet about grammar?
Juice, man. Like, I want to go on record and say that I'm like somewhat of a grammar Nazi in the sense that I do. The only time it really bugs me is when it's incorrectly spelled, or it's the wrong kind of grammar, or the wrong kind of there. But if it's like on a sign or like a professional like billboard, the amount of times I've like walked past a shop and they've got the wrong there or the wrong apostrophe, or the apostrophe's in the wrong place, that irritates the fuck out of me.
That's all right though. I'm not. It's not that. I think you're a special type of bastard if you go on someone's status and correct their grammar. And like the thing is, like I've done what I'm complaining about in an argument before, where I've just been like, I've got no way out of this. I'm just going to be a dickhead now. And I'm aware of the fact that I'm being a dickhead, but you're a special kind of bastard if you just go on someone's status and for no good reason just go on and say, "Oh, you spelled this wrong, bitch." Like that is like, you know, just fucking leave it. Like, not everyone's like as smart as you are. Not everyone is as clever as you are. Everyone's got the time to give a shit whether or not their spelling's correct. Especially on social media, like there's a whole point of like kind of text talk, isn't it? Is to shorten the amount of time that you spend typing.
That's it.
So, like,
but yeah, that's one thing that grinds my gears.
No, I'm with you because, like, for me personally,
and I do it.
I've just always had issues with my spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Like, even now, like it's not like it's just like the simplest of things fuck me up, and like I'll catch myself. I'll send a message and go, "Oh yeah, that was the wrong." Typically, there and your and things like that. That really
The thing is, you don't know if someone's like genuinely got an issue spelling in terms of like that might be dyslexic, and then you can make that person feel utter shit about the fact that that is their issue, and they might not know that. You know, it's horrible.
So like I never try to do it because like I know for a fact, like for me, it stressed me out. Like the amount of times I'm writing a message to you guys in the group chat and I have to like really stop and go check the spelling of a word because I'm just worried about it being wrong. It's constant.
You know, we don't care.
Yeah. It's just more for my sake because I'm just constantly like, it bothers me because like I like to write and stuff, obviously for like the website just personally. So you'd think I'd be really good at it, but it's just kind of like, no, it's still something. Despite being nearly 30.
This is the thing. Like I've had
one reason I don't write for the website is because I don't think like Steph has told me before that I write really nicely when I put my mind to it, but I just don't. I'm not as confident for a teacher. I'm not as confident in my grammar as I probably should be, but I'm a special needs teacher, so I get away with a lot. You know.
Well, one of my favorite like memories from A level is one of my English teachers. She was probably the best teacher I've ever had throughout my entire educational experience. And she, like, the first lesson she was with us, she said that she was dyslexic, and she kind of said, like, I'm an English teacher, I'm a literature teacher, and I'm dyslexic, and I'm going to be spelling a lot of shit wrong, and you guys need to help me. Well, if you want to help me along with the spelling and shit like that. And your ability to write, your written ability is not based on your ability to understand grammar or understand spelling. Like, I'm not perfect at all. And I've read both of your writing, and both of you have absolutely fantastic written style. And just because the grammar isn't like, every now and again everyone fucks up on grammar. It's perfectly natural. Yeah. As long as there's passion in your words, this is like turning into my little literary wank job fest. Now I'm enjoying this. As long as there's passion in your words, that's what's important, not the actual the spelling and the grammar a lot of the time. I think that's a really, really interesting point you've made, both music.
See, like for me though, like spelling isn't an issue. It's more like grammar. And like when I was doing professional skills tests before you do your PGCE for teaching, like I really had to work on like where my commas and everything went, because I don't particularly remember being taught that as a kid. So, like it's never something that it ever stuck with me. Spelling it does, but not that. But I remember, like, working as a special needs teacher, you get paired with learner support assistants and teaching assistants quite a lot, and they'll do a lot of work like writing on the board and stuff. And there's a lot of times where like I'll have to say to someone that is spelled incorrectly, and it's awkward. Like, do you know one of the ones that I come across most? Manager. People spell it like the French word manger, like so, like manger rather man.
Right, they miss out the extra A.
Yeah, and like it's really common, but like I have to say these people, like, and they're like, "Oh, is that wrong?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fucking wrong." But
business is the other one, isn't it? Busyness. Like, there's loads of words that just the English language is fucked. Really,
that fucks me up quite a lot.
It's a horrible thing to have to do and confront someone and say, like, especially in a place of work, and be like, "Yeah, that's not right. That's wrong." I always just try and do it and be like, "Oh, you've just missed out the A." But then it's all because they go, "Oh, where?" And I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm trying to do this nicely." Like, fucking stupid, and wipe it out. But, it's just that's why I say, like, I am one in terms of like spelling. Like, I do have to correct people, and I have done like the shitty things I've said before in the past. But it's something that, as I've grown up and kind of matured a bit, it is something that really annoys me.
I think there is a right way to broach it with people. Like, I welcome if someone says, "Oh, that's wrong," but it's just when, like, it, especially in text, when it's hard to translate stuff anyway, it just feels like sometimes they do get really annoyed at you for it, and it's just like, well, rather than doing it this way, just tell me, you know.
I take the piss out of Steph daily for her spelling. I have to admit, because she's really bad at it. Like, we were moving house recently, and she had a bag full of, like, a box full of makeup, and she'd written on it. And I was like, "What's that, Steph?" She went, "Oh, it's all my makeup." And I was like, "Is it?" I was like, "What's another word for makeup?" And she'd written cosmetics on the cosmetics. And I was like, "Is that your bag of cosmetics, Steph?" And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Cosmetics has got an S in stuff." But I do that because I'm a dickhead. So, like, I'm well aware of that.
I mean, with your partner, it's fine because like, it's just teasing banter, I guess. You know.
Yeah. Well, have I told you the story about why I call her Plymouth?
No,
no, I think so.
So Steph's like saved in my phone as Plymouth. So if you were ever around me, you see Plymouth.
As in Plymouth. Am I thinking?
Yeah. So
I've got it. Yeah.
Spelled Pliemouth, right? So spelt that way. So we were in Edinburgh. We were like kind of about to miss a train back to Newcastle, and we're running on the train. I said, "Steph, this is the train. Get on it now." And she went, "This isn't our train, Harry." And I was like, "Why isn't it our train?" And she was like, "Well, this one's going to Plymouth." And I was like, and you just kind of stop everything you do. And I looked at her and I went, now Steph's like a really smart person. She's like assistant psychologist in a minute, but she's got a master's in psychology. She's looking to do a PhD. And I just turned around and looked at her and I went, "Plymouth, we're going to Plymouth." And she was like, "Yeah." And I looked, I said, "For a start, it's fucking Plymouth." And I said, "And it is the right train, so we need to get on." So we got on a train, and Emerson said I could name it Plymouth. She also did the same with a place in the northeast, so you might not be familiar with if you're not from this area, but called Blythe. She called it Bliff.
Bliff.
Yeah.
Bliffy.
You see, it is funny,
okay
but I do that as well. Like, my reading skills could be sometimes questionable. It's the worst, given that I work at a call center, especially when I get like a name that's really hard to pronounce. Like, the amount of times I've just had to go on like a quick website that'll spell it out for you just to make sure I'm not making an arse out of myself is like constant.
Yeah.
See, you like that Key and Peele sketch where it's like, is there a D?
Yeah, exactly. D nice.
Like, I mean, I have like
Iran.
As an English teacher, I have nothing but respect for those the kids who do struggle. Like, they're almost when you see them making those efforts, and when you see those, and you're right, it absolutely breaks my heart when a kid might be trying really hard on the board, and then one of his mates will tear him down in front of the rest of the class, and I'm like, here's like my instincts are like to go on the attack, like you little fuck bag at the back there. You need to simmer the fuck down, otherwise I'm gonna like put you on detention for a week or something. But even that, like, especially that, but also like kids who have English as a second language, like how fucking difficult must that be? And how much how much respect I have for people who have English as a second language, because that's just a mammoth task in and of itself. Like when English is such a fucking horrible language to learn. It's a massive thing. And you're right, absolutely. Like those kind of grammar Nazis, the ones who tear people down in the comments. It's almost come around to the point where I feel like you've lost the argument if you have to comment on grammar. Like if that's the only thing you have left, you've kind of lost the fucking argument, mate.
Yeah. I must admit, like when you said there, like when someone tears their friend down, it's one of the hardest things to do as a teacher is when kids make genuinely hilarious fucking comments and you can't laugh at them and you've got to tell them off for it. And it's I've had like quite a few where like a kid said something and like I've genuinely like inside been like fucking dying to laugh. And I'm just like, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. And I'm just like, that's genius.
You're like, that's hilarious, but never say it again. Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, man.
So many times. So many.
Do you have any more? What were the other grievances?
So another one I had. I think this is a big one, but I don't really want to go too far into it because I don't want to get onto who's right, who's wrong. But it's like when people refuse to believe other people who say that they were mistreated or misheard just because they want attention. It's like, fuck off, right? Like you're part of the problem as to why people can't come out and say something. In response to obviously the Meghan Markle thing, just not saying that what she's saying is all true, but about the fact that when she came out and said that she had mental health issues, Piers Morgan said, "Oh, well, that can't be true because she's got money or whatever," and I'm like, "Well, fuck off, right?" And if people are feeling confident enough that they can come out and say that they've got these issues, don't then shoot them down and say, "No, you don't."
Piers Morgan's a fucking butt plug. He's an arsehole.
Yeah,
I wouldn't use.
No, he's not a butt plug because they're enjoyable.
Honestly, but this is the thing with Meghan. Like you're right. Even working like this job I've started, there's quite a few older people. Like I would say people in their 60s and 70s, and the amount of time I've overheard them saying, "Oh, she's a liar. She's clearly an actress." That thing about her being an actress, I'm like, just because she's an actress doesn't mean she just has like mental health problems and emotions. Like she can be an actress and be genuinely abused by something. Like fuck you.
Well, I mean, like you just have to look at the tabloids to see the abuse that she did get in comparison to people like Kate who didn't get anything like that. And then, I mean, I put the status out recently and I got a lot of pushback on it, but I don't really care. I said, people are more willing to listen to The Crown and believe the stories that come out of that from actors than they are from another actor who's actually given a first-hand account of what's happened. And that was the point I was making, is that people would rather hear the story through Netflix or through tabloids and believe that's true rather than hearing it from the mouth of the person who's actually gone through those experiences. And that's a sad thing.
Yeah, man, but it sucks.
Yeah. But it's the same. I think the actress who came out and played Cho Chang, I think she came out and said something about the Harry Potter, like she felt that she was like over-sexualized or something along those lines. I don't particularly know. Or maybe there was some racist treatment.
I think there was the race thing, yeah.
Yeah, the race thing. And people came out and said, well, why are you bringing it up now? You've had your money from them, and now you're just trying to get more attention. It's like, no, come on. Like,
I have to say,
like at the end of the day, like if you're in the middle of like what could be the biggest like moment in your career, are you really going to upset that when they're probably just going to fire you and recast you? Like, it's such difficult, especially for women. But
it's adding to the problem as well. The fact that there is so much pushback, it makes it harder, and people wonder why women don't come out. And we're not just women, like people don't come out and admit to this shit and say that I've been a victim of abuse. It's because there is so much vitriol towards them from the press and from high profile fucking anchors like Piers Morgan, and people wonder why people don't come out. Of course they don't come out because it's such a vile fucking place for people to express themselves.
And the irony is, he was coming out being like, "Oh, I'm a victim of cancel culture." It's like, mate, you cancelled yourself. You walked.
He literally walked off the fucking show.
And
such a fucking baby.
The fucking sweet irony of it is, he did exactly what fucking Meghan Markle did in terms of like he didn't like what he was hearing, didn't enjoy what happened, and he took himself out of the situation, and yet he lamented her for doing so and called her poisonous and all this kind of shit. I mean, like, obviously there's loads of play with the royal family that I don't really particularly care about, but it is quite glaringly obvious that our press treated her completely different to what they treated other members of the, you know, who married into the royal family. And I think there's a pretty obvious reason why as well.
Yep. Honestly, let's just say it. Let's if we put that out there. Let's say it's because of her race. It absolutely is because of her race, and she was treated differently because of her race, and it's fucking bullshit. And we should be able to have these conversations, and we should be able to talk about it, because that's the best. That's the first step to admitting that our society is fucked, like fucked.
Yeah.
Oh my, that got me emotional, Harry. Thanks for that.
Like I said, that's a big one, but I didn't want to spend too much time on it because I think then it just becomes a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's its own podcast in and of itself. Really, we could have that discussion.
Yeah, I don't particularly feel like I'm the best qualified person to speak on it because one, I'm not a woman. I'm not a person of I'm not a person of color, so I don't feel particularly confident in kind of voicing certain things. But I do understand and realize that it's wrong, a lot of it. So that's it. Moving on to my next one. People who refuse to laugh at dad jokes despite the fact that they're fucking hilarious.
Yeah, come on.
And you guys fall into this category, so shame on you. Because I make loads of good dad jokes on the podcast, and I think you refuse to laugh at them purely because it's me. The fact that they're not funny.
You are just one giant walking dad joke, Harry. You are a dad joke.
Yeah, I didn't know. But I get it at school as well. Like we were feeding ducks at a pond one day, and I walked up and I went, all right, lads, what's a quack? And like no one laughed, and they just went, oh, such a dad joke. And it's like, why is that an insult? Like that's a good thing, if I'm quite honest. It's funny. You should just be like, oh, good one, and then move on, forget it. Like, that's it. A dad joke isn't necessarily something that's going to make you fall on the floor laughing, but it's somebody be like, oh, good one. You don't have to be like, such a dad joke.
I really appreciate that.
Like, what? Why is that a bad thing? Why is it a bad thing?
Usually when I'm quiet on the podcast, I'm secretly laughing to myself when you make a dad joke. I just like the dead air for the audience to kind of... I'm usually hoping you're like Friends, where they put a laugh track over the top. I kind of want you to put laugh tracks over the top of the episodes, just to add a little bit of flair to it. Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it.
Like there's specific episodes where you've said to the other people on the podcast, don't laugh at him. You're just encouraging them, and I feel offended by that.
I'm sorry. I love you, and your dad jokes. I love you and your dad jokes.
I think part of the best thing of when a dad joke lands is that typically it's not supposed to be laugh out funny. Isn't that kind of the point of a dad joke?
That's the point. Yeah.
It's when to pop yourself more than someone else.
There's a level of cringe there, isn't there?
That is just me all over. Like I'm not enjoying myself if I'm not making myself laugh, and I don't 100%. Care if anyone else is laughing or not. But it doesn't like when people say, "Oh, that's such a dad joke," as if it's an insult. I'm like, yes, it is, and I'm proud of it. So thank you. My last one is maybe we could probably get into a bit more, but it's people who test you when and by test you, I mean Liam will understand this. If you're having a conversation with someone who's a superior at work or someone like that, and they're clearly leading you down a conversation path where they want you to give an answer to see whether or not you're going to give the answer that they want you to give. And then if you don't give the answer they want you to give, they then lament you for it, even though that they manipulate the conversation to going down that path. I know that's quite a convoluted kind of way of saying it, but I don't know how else. I don't know how else to do it. SLTs do it all the time. I found where they're kind of like they'll trap you in a conversation where the pure aim of the conversation is to kind of give you a rollicking, if that makes sense. So how are we meant to do this? How are we meant to do this? And then you give the answer. They know that you don't know the real way to do it, or you might not know the proper way to do it. So then you give what you think is the right answer, and then they say, well, no, actually, it's not that. And I'm just like, first of all, fuck you. If you think there's a problem with something that I'm doing, just come and tell me outright, and then I'll change how I'm doing it. Yeah. Don't make me repeat what I've done already. You can just say, actually, like if for instance, me, if there was something that you guys are doing on the and I thought I don't like what you're doing on this bit, I'd say, guys, I said just one thing. Like there's one thing that keeps happening, and I'm not really keen on that. Can we either try and stop doing it, or can you tell me why you are doing it so I can understand a bit more what the point is? Like obviously that's a bit of a weird example, but I find that SLT do this all the time, where
they do.
It's like asking you a question they already know the answer to just so they can give you a fucking bollocking. And it does my head in. It's like some kind of weird power play, and I don't understand it, and I don't like it, because if I knew I was doing something wrong, I probably would, or like, you know, I either definitely know or I definitely don't know. And if I'm quite honest, I don't do things wrong on purpose. So realistically, if I'm doing something wrong, I don't know. So educate me, don't fucking harass me and like harangue me for it.
It's such a superiority complex. That's all it is. It's someone who's clearly got too fucking big for their fucking britches. They're throwing the weight around, and you're right. Like especially with SLT. So this idea of senior leadership teams getting involved in the way like I teach. Like I've had my own fair share of pause their way of teaching. Like, oh, well, that's not how you should be doing it. I'm like, well, how the fuck do you know how I should be doing it? Maybe my way works better than yours. I'm not here in your classroom telling you what the fuck to do. It really, really does blow my piss as well. Like, it absolutely just fucking, it's infuriating how much someone wants to get in your business. Like, you could be doing everything right. You could be doing everything fucking right, but because they don't think so, because they have their better way of doing things, they want to tell you you're doing it wrong. It's just such a, it's fucking awful.
It's just like it's people with power exercising it, essentially. Like they don't have to do this, but it's like they want to because they have that power. You know what I mean? It's like because I've got this, I'm going to trick someone out, and then it's my excuse to sort of show my dominance when you don't really need to do it.
Yeah, like I had it a few times with my placements when I was training, and I up front said to the person, I was like, why have you done that? And they did it in front of other people as well. And I kind of said, why have you just made a fool of me in front of everyone? I said, like, if I've done this because I thought this was the way that you were meant to do this thing, and rather than you pull me aside and say, actually, that's not how we do it here, because I'd taken something that had happened in like that, a practice that was getting used in another school and applied it to the situation I was in, and they said, that's not how we do it here. I was like, well, first of all, you haven't gone out your way to tell me this is how you do it here. So I've just used my initiative and done it this way. Fair enough, if that's not what you do, I understand that it won't happen again. But why fucking make me feel like a twat in front of everyone? Like it's like almost like grandstanding, and I don't like it at all. And like, don't get it twisted. It's not me being like this entitled kind of like millennial who's being like, oh, I shouldn't get told off in the workplace, because if I've done something wrong, and yeah, fair enough, like I fucked up, I'm willing to take the consequence. I'm willing to face the consequences for that, because that's fair enough. That should be the case. But if it's something like a different practice or something like that, don't act like a bell end. Like, just outright tell me. Because one, I'm likely to take the criticism better if you actually just come and tell me, and two, like, why do you want to demoralize your staff? Like, why? What are you gaining out of that? What are you gaining by making your staff feel that big? You know,
you're right. It doesn't help. It just pisses the staff off, and that's not really going to help them like change the ways. They're just going to have more of a grudge against you, and it's just not going to get things fixed a lot sooner. You're right. Just taking people aside and talking to them is the best way. Don't try and make them look to be a moron, and don't like get aggressive with them over it. It's never going to lead to them getting the message. You know, it's just upset them. And like, what's the point?
Yeah, do you know what? I've seen a teacher do it to a child as well, and it's fucking horrendous as well. Like, oh, so you think this is the answer? And they're like, yeah, and they're really confident in this answer they're giving, and the teacher goes, well, actually, you're fucking wrong, dumbass. And I'm like, why have you just done that? Yeah. Like, there's so many different ways that you can tell someone they're wrong, and like, you've chosen the fucking worst way to do it, other than going and sticking the dunce fucking hat on their head and saying you're a fucking racist. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I hate that word, but like, that's like the level of kind of like humiliation I think it puts on people. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's so nasty. Like,
it's a form of workplace bullying, and I think everyone has seen it. I've seen those kind of office bigwigs who fucking they think they're like the fucking just the kind of there's nothing that they can't do better than you. They're always trying to one up you. They're always doing whatever you do, I can do it better kind of bullshit. And it just makes you not want to come to work, and it just makes you want.
Yeah.
And yeah, it absolutely happens to kids as well. And you see teachers who completely are just demoralizing kids and ruining their chance at progressing at something because that kid is now not want to. That kid might be really shy. That kid might have only stood up once or twice, and now you've ruined that. And now that kid's not going to fucking stand up again, and it's not going to try again. It's bullshit.
Can I just clarify as well? Because I realized I did just say the word. I was using that as like the example of what a teacher would say to someone to make them feel bad. That isn't me using that word flippantly. That is like the level of like horrendousness that I think that what they're doing is like the equivalent. I need to make myself clear on that in case people think that I'm a special needs teacher using that word like horrendously. But yeah, those are just some of the things that have ground my gears. Like in most recent weeks, obviously that last one at the school I'm at, it hasn't happened, so I'm really happy with that. But that's from something that happened like a year ago, so I thought I'd bring that up.
No, I think that's a really good point. Yeah,
that's brilliant. No, I think there's a whole like I'm saving it for another day. There's a whole section of just horrible bosses and people in power where I think we could talk for ages, especially if you've ever worked in retail.
Movies on it as well.
Yeah, especially if you've worked in retail. The retail sector's full of it, so I'm going to save that for another episode. Smash it. No, that's awesome. Great stuff, Harry.